Located right on the east tip of Italy is our first non-Valencian host of our races this season. Welcome everybody to the World Circuit La Conca in Italy, and we have the first round of our Champions of the Future Euro Series for this evening. We're going to have 26 drivers ready to head out onto the circuit and ready to get going with their campaigns. And it's my name, Joseph Black, alongside a former KartSim champion back in 2018, and of course former racing driver as well, Josh Erfan, who's going to join alongside me. And well, Josh, it's set to be a good spectacle this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. New track, especially for KartSim Esports, so we've never been here before. So it's a track that's full of racing, a lot of slipstream because of those two long straights, so a lot of grip as well. The drivers are really going to be on it. I think the times are going to be really, really close around here.
Oh yeah, it certainly should be. And well, if we have a look at all of the qualifying times that the drivers set, it was between the 46s and the 48s that they were able to get Warwick Milam the quickest lap time of all with a 46.862. And in fact, he was the only driver into the 46s. Everybody else in the 47s and 48s. So split by about a second or two in those qualifyings. And of course, when they get to the actual race session itself, then it can be very, very tight indeed. But the qualifying can also be pretty tight as well. Of course, we can see them reaching personal best they didn't quite get to online as soon as they hop into the sim, and it's just all about who's got that bottle.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're probably going to be a lot closer here. A lot of people I know for the qualifying server, they put themselves into the top 10, do the sort of a bare minimum, and then know they've qualified for the race. But honestly, I know these people have been testing a lot of practice for this event, a lot of practice obviously for Valencia as well. So they should be experienced enough to really, really go for it. This is round two of the EU series. So this is going to be a really, really good chance to see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be very, very good indeed. Of course, we've had our racing so far around Valencia. La Conca is the first host of the season, and the first host of the 2026 year, where we will not be heading to the Spanish circuit. So we're going to get the opportunity to see them taking to a slightly different circuit. Of course, a lot of similar drivers out there. It's Theodor Tubal, one of those who's competed many a time in KartSim events. But yeah, it's all about that familiarity, which can be thrown off with a new circuit.
I still think the top people are going to be up there. I have no doubt in my mind that Warwick's going to be towards the top. So let's see who can join the leaders for this one. Let's see who can fight Warwick for a win. Yeah,
Warwick at the moment 46.862 was the lap time he set in the qualifying session that they had for themselves before they headed here, and of course he was the quickest of all. Timeo Rupen, second place, 47.020 was the time that he set. So there was a big gap between what Warwick was able to achieve and what Timeo was able to achieve in the first sessions. And of course that's Alexis Genelay, who could be right up the very top of the field as well. He's somebody who's been competing at the top of the field for a while, and he in fact set the third fastest time in the qualifying sessions. He was only 3,000ths off of the back of the top two of Timeo Rupen right in there. So lots of competitors can make their name known. Alexis, as that's Benjamin Nascimento going very high in the air to kick his evening off with a little bit of excitement. But Alexis Genelay, another one who could be competing right up there.
Well, luckily, if you go off like that, the car doesn't get damaged on the simulator, so you can reset and go straight again.
Yeah, that's the benefit of racing on the simulator. You've got so many more opportunities for something like that to happen. But then if you swap it completely over to the other side, then you can have so much more, for example, netcode, which we saw a couple of times in the first round of the season. Of course, it's something that comes with all of the racing that you can do in esports. You can get a lot of netcode on your side, which can't necessarily help, of course, when it's a LAN event, although some LAN events recently have not been seeing the same thing. Then they can avoid an issue like that. But of course, this is drivers from all around the world. We've got all of the best competition for the Euro Series, and we'll be seeing them all competing out there. We've got about 10 minutes left of our practice session, then we'll head into the qualifying and then into the race indeed. And Warwick Milam already up there with a 47.357, so he's hit the ground running. Joshua Bailey up there, just half a tenth off the back of Milam as well.
Yeah, I'd still say it's a lot closer in KartSim Esports than it would be in real life, purely because you can't get to the final and bolt on another 2/10 in engine. So all the drivers on the same equipment, which makes it very, very easy for everyone to race against each other and to be on the pace as well. So there's no disappointments for anyone because of equipment, which is unfortunately a part of real life racing.
Yeah, it is. The more money you can have, the more money, the better you can seem to do on some occasions. But of course, it is the great equaliser, is sim racing, and so that gives the opportunity for those who maybe don't have the chance to kart in real life. It gives them the opportunity to compete as well. And as you say, it's going to be very, very close between all of the competitors. Edin Koterovic, very close to the wall there. And, well, just bounces off of it, manages to go through the escape road. And a couple of teething problems this evening for a couple of the drivers as they just try to find the limits of the track. As, well, of course, they try to replicate it as close to real life as you possibly can, at least the circuit. So the curbs and the barriers will do all that in real life it will, and the grass will also unsettle the kart. Not that Timea Rupen, who's managing to hold on to it, will give you any indication of anything like that. But yeah, it's a great equaliser, and it gives the opportunity for more drivers to compete at the highest level, which is of course the level that we are watching on here today, the Champions of the Future Euro Series, which will be very, very good indeed. And well, there's also the point of their times will be much closer, as you say, because they had more time to practice it, but now it comes down to who's got the bottle.
Well, until Warwick Marlin just put an absolutely flying lap in, the top 7 were within 3 tenths. So that's going to make for some really, really good racing. Now let's see, Warwick's put a lap in a 47.2, which is just under 4 tenths off what he did in the practice week. So there's still time for all these drivers to start pushing down to, and I'm sure they're going to keep going faster and faster as we just went under 9 minutes left for practice.
Yeah, just under 9 minutes left, and if you have a look at second, third and fourth, they're split by 1,000th of a second. Lekshiki, Tubal and Bailey, almost identical lap times at the moment, as Joshua Bailey has gotten his evening off to a very, very good start indeed. He was right at the very top, and now looks to maybe even beat his personal best in this in the qualifying session that we're going to be having coming up very shortly. The top 10 split by under a second as well, so it should be very good. And Theodor Tubal going a little bit closer to Warwick Marlin. He could be a competitor for this one today, although of course this is just about testing everything that works and testing that you're going to be all right. And Timea Rupen up to second place. He seems to have the measure of this Conca circuit.
Yeah, so this is round 1 of the Euro Series. So not only do we have the Euro Series running, we also have the UK and International Series, as well as the Cups we ran as well. So this is a fresh start for some people that potentially didn't get the result they were looking for initially in our Champions of Future races. But if you want to go through our schedule of esports racing this year.
Yeah, of course, we're mostly at the start of the season in the south of Europe at Conca, the first time that we're heading away from Valencia this season. Then round 2 will take us in 2 weeks' time back to Valencia. So we'll be just dipping our toes back there one more time, but no more for the rest of the season, because then we'll be getting our UK series underway at PF International, and then Thessaloniki for round 2 of the International series. Round 3 of the Euro series will come in May in Mulsan, and then you'll have Kristianstad and Sano rounding off the season in July and September. So we've got a couple of quick fire rounds just to start us off, and then we'll get a good picture of who's going to be competing at the top.
Now, the point system in KartSim Esports is 75 and then 3 down for every position. Obviously, you don't get points for a DQ, so it makes consistency a lot more important than your 25, 18, 15 when you'd be used to in FIA karting, or FIA racing in general. So it's all about being in that top 3 every time, not having a crash, being able to qualify high, pull away at the start. I know what we've seen from KartSim Esports so far is that the top 4, they always try and work together at the starts because they don't want to get pushed back into that mid-pack. So let's see if they do get dragged into the mid-pack, if it can keep up with Warwick or whoever else is qualifying pole for this race, and let's see if they can fight towards the very last lap. We don't want to see people driving away, and I really don't think so, as Joshua Bailey goes within 200ths of Warwick. So they're really, really chasing him down. The top 6 within 2 tenths, the top 9 within 3 tenths. So it is very, very close out there now.
It's very, very close indeed, and this will shows that we're going to have a very good evening on our hands. Joshua Bailey, within 300ths of a second, he's 0.023 off the back of Warwick Milam. He is looking very, very feisty out there this evening. As far as the timings go at this point in time, at the very least, and he is looking like one of those drivers that will be able to compete. Of course, we'll be hoping that there'll be lots of competition, and he is one that, well, we've seen competition before. He won the 2025 KartSim Pro UK Championship 2025 in the cadet class, and he'll be making the step up. Of course, these are all equal cars. They're all racing exactly the same this time, so there's no classes to worry about, and it's all just one single championship, and at the moment he's looking very, very good, although that was an off-track moment to try and compete with Warwick Milam, who's at the very top of the field. Of course, we've got a number of names that we are used to seeing, or if we're not used to seeing, we'll get used to seeing them throughout the course of this season. Of course, we've got 25, 26 even drivers racing here today, so a lot of them, the likes of Warwick Milam, Theodore Tubal, will recognise those names. Some of them will be newer to ourselves, but they'll be looking to make a name for themselves as Warwick Milam is going to pull off to the side.
Now, we've seen that from Warwick Milam and all the KartSim Esports. He likes to go for an out push lap, maybe one more push lap, and then back to pits for some fresh tyres. Now, we did see a lot of copying of that in qualifying of the last international race. So let's see if it's the sort of same thing we're going for today. I know the track temperature is about 40 degrees for this race. So, and the Conca is a very, very grippy track, so I know the tyre degradation is going to be very high. I think that tactic's going to come in for a lot of the drivers. Yeah,
it will, and well, we'll see what they are able to do, all the trickery that they can do on the sim. That they wouldn't necessarily be able to do in real life. They wouldn't necessarily be able to get away with it, but you can push the limits a little bit more as it stands. And well, 3 minutes 30 left in this practice session, so they'll be really trying to fly their way through. And Warwick Milam almost dipping out of the 47s and into the 46s for the first time this evening. I'd imagine that the qualifying time that he will set will be into those 46s.
Especially if he's doing a 47.0 now, he'd definitely be getting into the 46s. The track's obviously progressing as well, so the track will get slightly better as we have 26 drivers going around now. But Timo Rupen just put a time into P2, so that's a very respectable lap time. Again, the top 10 are split by under half a second, so it could be anyone's race at this point here.
It very much could, and well, this will be very, very exciting to see. Of course, it's not a very long lap time here, just 47 seconds in the case of Warwick Milam, in the case of a number of them, as he shoulder barges one of the other karts out of the way, but it's looking like it's going to be a decently short lap time, which means that they'll be able to keep close together throughout all of it. Not many overtaking opportunities. They're going to have to try and take them most likely into the last corner, which looks like a very, very good overtaking spot indeed, but yeah, there's going to be lots of times for them to try and get the run, and of course the straight pretty long by its karting standards, by the standards of the rest of the track, so that might be a chance too.
Not only is it straight long, but from the chicane onwards, that's quite a long straight into the last corner. The last corner is probably where we're going to see the majority of the overtakes today. It's a very big hairpin with a long run and then a good exit as well, so it's hard to defend, because if you slow it down a bit too much and you don't get the exit you're looking for, then the move into T1's very easy. So there is going to be some good racing in the first section and the last section. The chicane is slightly more difficult, and the double right, but I've seen moves get done there all the time.
Yeah, it should be very, very good to see indeed. All of the racing that we can do, and as you can see, you can basically go flat out over that little kink into the final corner. But we'll watch on board with Alexis Genelay a lap of the Conca circuit, just flying through all of the corners, and you can see how much curbing you need to take. That's a double apex corner that you just kind of have to ignore, so you can open yourself up for the exit as well. And of course, Alexis Genelay not completely pushing on this lap time around, but really using all of the curbing still.
Hey, I'd say he's going for it. Let's go on board with Joshua Bailey now. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, we will indeed. At the moment, third place for Joshua Bailey, almost, or just under 2/10 off the back of Warwick Milam at the moment, with just under 1 minute left in this practice session. Of course, then we'll get our qualifying underway, and then we'll get down to the gritty bit, the racing, the bit that they all will mind. But of course, this bit very important, so they can get themselves used to the circuit, making sure that all of the equipment that they have is going to work, and then they'll be heading into the qualifying session, which is equally, if not more, important than the race session itself, because then they can really set themselves up into a good position to be able to make the most of it, because of course all of these karting circuits, the nature of them is that they're going to be relatively thin, and so there's overtaking opportunities will be, there's not going to be too many of them, but yeah, we will see what they will be getting the chance to do. But as I say, qualifying probably more important than the race itself.
It depends. I mean, you could be 8th in qualifying and still win races. I've won a race from 19th before, so it really does depend. Alex Chenelay putting another respectable lap time in. Again, the biggest thing is consistency in the races. You can't just do one lap and drive around half a second off the rest of the time. It's a showcase of a bit more skill than the qualifying. But I think the same people that are going to be up the top in qualifying will be up the top in the race, bearing no major incidents. So that's a close for practice. Warwick Milam actually dipped into the 46s in one of his last laps, so he's back to where he wants in practice. He's got a nice cushy 2.5 tenths lead at the moment, but I'm sure Timur Rupen, you can watch the onboard, you can see what he's doing, you can follow behind him, and you can really see, right, this is where the 2.5 tenths is, because I'm sure there's maybe one or two corners where he's finding a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a lot of time for Warwick Milam, as he's got even faster. He's set 2 lap times now in the 46s, 46.9 and 46.8. So there is time out there for all of them. And at the moment, only Warwick Milam is finding that 0.3 of a second. But yeah, I mean, it's a combination of qualifying and the race, which will see yourself right at the very top of the field. But of course, with the lap times being so very short, that will be what they need to contend with. But just a reminder then, this is round 1 of your Champions of the Future Euro Series around the World Circuit at Conca in Muro Lecce, Italy. And well, it'll be myself, Joseph Black, and Josh Erfan taking you through the action with cameras provided by Miguel Viana. And we very much appreciate the hard work that goes on behind the scenes to make these races happen. And of course, the KartSim, everybody at KartSim as well, not just those who are those who provide the equipment, but also those who build the equipment. As Josh, I mean, you've probably got more experience than everybody else on the KartSim. What's the differences between racing on something like this and just racing on vanilla R Factor?
It's a very, very big difference. One vanilla R Factor doesn't have any carts, and the majority of all the hardware and software out there, except for KartSim, which is the only licensed provider of karting software in the world, they're more set up for formulas and for GTs, which makes it very unrealistic when you try and put a kart on there. So we really do create a whole package where we can make it just as realistic as real life, and we can get it to a point where all your inputs are the same. Obviously, all our tracks are laser and lidar scanned. Our tracks, our karts, we can enter NTAs with Rotax. We've just got the Rotax license and the IAME license, so we have all the engines, the karts as well. So we can get people driving the tracks that they want and the karts that they want, so they can really accelerate their learning.
It surprises me that vanilla R Factor doesn't actually have it doesn't actually have karts, but it does. This provides the opportunity, of course, to race with the most realistic karts that you can probably get in terms of sim racing that you have. But yeah, it's going to be very good to see the lap times that are thrown in straight away, to see where everybody is going to be stacking themselves up. And well, of course, it'll be around a 46, 47, 48 lap time that they'll be setting on their hands. And at the moment, in the first 2 sectors, 16.5.7 is the quickest that I've seen so far. But they'll, of course, have that third sector that they need to complete. In the first lap, that will be thrown in Alex Lekzicki with a 47.6, instantly beaten by Joshua Bailey, and instantly beaten again by Timeo Rupen, who's got a 47.5. But these lap times are just the warm-up ones, and just a taster of what's to come.
Well, they just came out of the pits, so this is first flying lap, so they're still getting into it. The tyres are still getting up to temperature. Warwick Milam, no surprise there. He's up 3 tenths in the first sector, another 2 tenths in the second sector, so he'd probably be going down into the low 47s about now, maybe into 46 as well.
Yeah, up to the line for Warwick Milam, and it will be a 47.02. So almost into the 46s with his first lap, as there's yellow in Sector 2. That will be, is that potentially Isaac Morgan? No, it's not. He's continuing on absolutely fine. But yeah, all of the drivers will just be setting their first lap times on the board. Timeo Rupen, 47.3, so just gets a little bit closer to Milam, and well, they'll be trying to compete. And of course, they've got that traffic to deal with. John McClellan in with in and around Timea Rupen. If they have a poor exit, the car's ahead, or the kart's ahead even, then you can really struggle. It's just, you have to have so much trust in everybody around you.
But not only that, but you need to be a bit smart. You need to put yourself behind people that are just as fast as you. So obviously he's behind Joshua Bailey now, and Joshua Bailey proved himself in that practice session. He proved himself in the pre-qualifiers as well. So what Timea Rupen doing now, he's got a nice chaseable gap down to Joshua Bailey, and then he can just start pushing and pushing and pushing, and now he should be going on a really nice push lap. Warwick Milam does go for a different strategy. He likes to be on his own. He likes to go out one lap, back to pits, and he can really do it well. As we saw on his first flying lap, he's into the 47s. Is he into the 46s now? Yes, he is. A 46.847, which is his fastest lap he's ever done round the log Conca track. So he's really showing the pace now, and all these drivers are going to start catching up now they've got the positioning. But Joshua Bailey, he's caught in some traffic with Alex Lizicki. So that sort of 2nd to 5 bunch are really trying to get in one behind each other, because the slipstream would probably be about 2 to 3 tenths around here.
Yeah, it'll be very, very important for themselves. And Joshua Bailey went quicker on the last lap. So did Alex Lutschicki. But Lutschicki didn't go quick enough for Joshua Bailey. So Bailey managed to make his way through 500ths of a second quicker in terms of their best lap times. And he did close the gap, not improving on this one. And I believe this would actually be an invalid lap. So he's going to go once again with 6 minutes left in this session. It is now crunch time for them to see. And well, it's a debate really whether you need clean air or whether you need. Ooh, Alex Lutschicki off of the road there. So not a very good corner for himself. I think he just got caught up in the curbing, and huge plumes of smoke as Harvey Sargison moves out the way. Ruben Swindles moves in the way of Brian Benairens, and I don't think he's going to be particularly happy about that one. Just a moment of unawareness, and that means that Benairens is going to be losing that little bit of time and probably has to sacrifice this lap.
No, it's going to be prepping for a new lap, but you have to be careful that you're not impeding the quicker driver, and you do have mirrors on these sims, so there is no excuse to be getting in the way. But it's another thing, you need to find that clear track, because Warwick Milam, he comes up to Lewis Forster, potentially actually giving a bit of a gap to try and get behind the session leader. That was also Alex Janelay getting behind Warwick Milam, just rolling out, which is smart from these drivers. They want to follow the best, they want to see what his secrets are. Timea Rupen again rolling out for Warwick Milam, so they're really looking for the extra 2 tenths that Warwick at the moment sort of dominates on top of everyone else.
Yeah, well, they don't want to get in the way because, of course, as we saw just a moment ago with Brian going through, there might be a bit of contact between the two. Milam is going to back out of the lap, in fact, and is going to go once again. But, yeah, there's a couple of drivers without lap times, without representative lap times on the board especially, and one of them is Alexis Genelay, who has not got a time on the board just yet. He'll be hoping to change that very soon, and he'll be hoping to challenge with those drivers up the top. Of course, Dale Tubal and Joshua Bailey, who have barely been separable today, as 7 thousandths between those two.
Yeah, Warwick didn't really like someone following him, did he? He pulled over before the last corner. He doesn't want to share his secrets. So let's see. Maybe he's come back to pits and he's going for another push lap. That's what he likes to do. And I'm surprised they haven't got back down into the 46s or down into the 47.0s. So they still got time to find themselves compared to practice. So let's see if people can get going. About 3.5 minutes left in this qualifying session, so you can get 2 or 3 more push laps now.
It's a very busy racetrack at the moment, so they might be suffering from traffic. Alexis Genelay did go for the first sector with a very decent first sector. A 16.2 is what he had. He was only 0.013 off the quickest first sector, but after that he backed out of it, invalidated, something along those lines. So the man, of course, currently in last place, is going to try and go again. He's going to try and improve on the lap time that he's got at the moment. 3:17 left in the session. He's going to go purple in the first. 3 thousandths of a second is what he's got on Warwick Milam. And can he find any more time around this Conca circuit? Just going to try and open up all of the corners, try and use as much of the curbing as he can. Then he can try and fly through and beat Warwick Milam with his first lap time of the session. 2 tenths slower in the second sector though, so it's not quite going to be the time to beat Milam. But he could, as you say, he could still get P2 if it doesn't lose any more. He's probably got about 1.5 tenths to lose in this final sector. Up to the line for Alexis Genelay, and yep, he splits Tubal and Milam, but still, there's a lot of time in that second sector that Milam is finding somewhere.
Just want to highlight Warwick Milam, very, very good, very, very mindful. He waited in that pit exit to make sure he didn't impede Alex Genelay's lap. So that's what we want to see from all KartSim drivers, a clean racing, but very surprising from a person who hadn't actually, so that's his first flying lap of the session. So obviously he had bailed a couple of laps and he was looking for that perfect positioning, which he did eventually find. He did eventually have some clean running, which he could obviously go and set a P2 lap time. He's now behind Timo Rupen, again another driver that's been really at the sort of front end of his pace, and he's gone purple again in the first sector. He's a tenth quicker than his last lap through the second sector. Let's see what he can do now.
Oh, he's got that lap time, hasn't he, Alexis Genelay, at the moment, and he has been the second driver here today into the 46 as a 46.9 is what he's been able to set. Theodor Tubel just trying to find time as well, but Jiva Depan looks like he may well have just been in the way, just enough to throw Tubal off of his line and off of his momentum, because of course momentum very important. He's going to go once again on to another lap. So we've got 1 minute 32 left, so not many more opportunities for these drivers to go. Milam's found half a tenth in the first sector.
The top 10 split by half a second, so they're really close, but Warwick and Alex at the moment just slightly have a couple tenths over the rest of the grid, as Alex Genelay actually holds up Warwick Milam, which is a little bit dirty, but might have to be looked at by the stewards just afterwards. Now Warwick Milam should have time just for one more lap, but that's something, maybe someone impeding, maybe he was just accidentally in the way and he was rolling out to a bit more space, but that's something that the stewards will have to look at after, I'm sure.
Of course, that's not something that we can take a look at, or it's something that we can look at, but it's not something we can decide, as Alexis Genelay through the first sector is a tenth and a half down on Warwick Milam, and actually is down on his own personal best. So this doesn't look as though this is going to be a lap that will compete with Warwick Milam. Can anybody else find the time to compete with the man at the top of the field at the moment? Of course, as it's a very good lap time indeed. 36 seconds left in this session, and so there is only one more chance for most of them. Alex Lukshiki on his outlap, and he will be going once again if he can get to the line in time, because it's going to be very tight from here on in. 20 seconds to go in this qualifying session, and I'm not sure whether he's going to make it. If he does, it'll be with a few seconds to spare.
Well, let's see, 15 seconds to go. Qualifying's nearly over, but I think he should make it. He's been close before, especially at Valencia. I think he crossed the line with about 2 seconds to go, so he does really time it well. Let's see if he can make it quickly.
It looks as though
he hasn't made it. He's missed it by about 2 seconds.
They've missed it. Warwick Milam's missed it, so he won't go again. That is a huge shame, but that's what you can get sometimes when you do go for that gamble back out. And, well, Warwick Milam, doesn't matter for him because he's going to get that pole position anyway, it looks like. I don't think anyone's going to improve on him. Timea Rupen has not improved, certainly. But is there anybody else that's going to be able to compete with that lap time at the top of the field? I'm not quite sure whether there will be. Joshua Bailey has not improved. He got a 47.709 on his last lap, and so he will be backing out. Anson Gao won't be going once again, so I think we can confirm that Warwick Milam is going to take that pole position away, and, well, that'll be a very good lap time indeed from himself to snatch it away. Alexis Genelay under a tenth behind with just the one valid lap. Timea Rupen finds himself in third place with the 47.113, just ahead of Theodor Tubal. Then Joshua Bailey in fifth, and Alex Lukshiki in sixth. The early pace setters in the session still have some decent pace. Anson Gao in seventh, Brian Benayrens in eighth, Thomas Anthony, and then Edin Kaserovic will round out the top 10, and Johan Bourdieu will be in 11th. Ethan Miller will be alongside him on the grid with John McClellan in 13th, Leon Met in 14th, then Isaac Morgan and Stanislav Zarko will round out the 47 lap times. Harvey Sargison, Leonard Clapsing, Elia Knoll and Benjamin Nascimento will round out the top 20, and then Ishan Jivadipan, Ruben Swindles and Lewis Forster will round out our 23-strong grid. Lewis Forster not able to get a competitive lap time on the board, but, well, it's hard to look past Warwick Milam, isn't it, for this race win?
Yeah, but I think Alex Genelay is really putting up a fight. Something that we didn't really see as much in the international round. I know they were very close, but it's a start for Alex. Alexis, he made a couple mistakes initially, which once you lost about that second gap, it's just so hard to catch up when you're making the same lap time every lap. So let's see if he can potentially pip Warwick off a start. Something he hasn't done before, then maybe bring the rest of the pack in. If I was Alexis, that's what I'd want to do. I'd go for a lunge, a clean lunge, obviously, a clean lunge in the first lap that backs Warwick up into the pack where it might give me a chance to get away.
Yeah, that's what the hope will be. He'll hope to put the pressure on Warwick Milam as much as he possibly can. As yeah, we'll run you through the starting order as we go, and everybody gets onto the grid and gets ready to go racing. It's Milam, then Genelay, Rupen, and then Tubal, and then Bailey, Lukshiki, Gao, and Benayrens. Bailey and Lukshiki, as I say, they were the early pace setters in the session, and so they may still have potential in their racing to get up into the podium positions. Then Thomas Anthony in 9th place alongside Edin Kasarevic, who we saw have that massive incident in practice. He's all right. He can keep going. Of course, no damage on the kart. And then 11th and 12th, Bourdieu and Miller. McClellan will be alongside Leon Met in 13th and 14th. Isaac Morgan and Stanislav Zharko will round out at the top 16, and then Sargison, Klapsing, Knoll and Nascimento rounding out the top 20 drivers in this field. And we've got 23 here today in this competition. Ishan Jivadipan, Ruben Swindles and Lewis Forster to round out the order. And for somebody like Forster, it's going to be hard to fight back, of course, but when you haven't got a lap time that you feel as though is representative on the board, as we've got 12 laps of racing ahead of us here at the World Circuit, La Conca, and Warwick Milam will be leading us away to the green flag. Of course, the lights in front of the drivers is what they will be looking at and what they will be referencing when we get to the start. This is on board with the poleman, Milam. This is on board with the man alongside him, and they are just going to be waiting and watching and waiting with bated breath for the start to get underway. All 23 drivers now sitting on the grid and all looking ready to get going. Theodor Tubal's even weaving to try and warm up those tyres somehow before they get started, or maybe just try and set himself up as he goes into the first corner. Of course, it's going to be a sweeping one as the lights are coming on now in front of the drivers. There's going to be 5 red lights. The drivers are ready. And the action's going to get underway now. It's Warwick Milam on the inside line of the first corner. It's going to be Alexis Genelay who's going to try and go the long way around the outside. Theodor Tubal tries to take the position as they head through the next couple of corners, and he takes it. Alexis Genelay on the outside line has to go too wide, and Milam's going to be alongside Tubal, who takes the lead of the race. Milam sends it back to the inside, and he will retake it, and that means that Alexis Genelay can come back into it. And even though he had a poor couple of first corners, he's going to be right within the fight at the top of this field. Through on Tubal, second place for himself. Joshua Bailey closing the gap, but the top 3 ekes out such a huge gap in that first sector. Milam has taken full advantage of that and now extends his gap at the top to about 0.5 of a second.
Yeah, now it's time for Alexis and Theodore to work together to chase after Milam. They don't want him to win another race. They really need to start going. Obviously, the pack behind them, if they do make the mistake, they really get dragged back into that. So Warwick, he's done everything he could. He got overtaken, but he went straight back in and he backed those drivers back into the next pack. So they had to defend from each other, and that just allowed them to pull away. Now, both of these drivers are consistent. Alexis Genelay about 0.8 behind now, so it's never over for him. One mistake from either of the drivers, and that's race over.
Yeah, it certainly is. Theodor Tubal's not had the greatest of starts after the supreme launch that he's had, and he might fall back into the grasp of Joshua Bailey for the final podium position at the moment. The top 2 trying to eke out that gap, and it's about a second between Tubal and Genelay. Now, big bit of curbing taken, and that's not going to help Joshua Bailey at all. A rare mistake drops him down a few positions, and that means the pressure on Theodor Tubal completely taken off.
Yeah, now it's time for him to focus and try and chase Alexis. Bit of a mistake, and as I said, mistakes really kill your race. Just a little bit too much curb, and it just completely upsets the kart. Now, the top 10 all within a couple seconds, so really time for them to get some good racing in and try and pull away from one another. But the gap between Alexis Genelay and Warwick is just up to a second now. Now, it's staying quite relatively flat, but we need to see Alexis trying to dig into that gap a little bit more.
Really needs to. Just over a second at the moment, as that's a send from Johan Bourdieu on the inside of Ruben Swindles, makes the move and makes the position up. Bourdieu now holds 18th place, and it's actually Anson Gao, in fact, who's in that 19th spot at the moment and is about 0.3 off of the back of the carter in front. John McClellan and Leon Met, both of those two very, very close together, as well as they will head on to what will be the 4th lap of this race. And well, it's absolutely flying by at the moment. John McClellan just sitting in behind Ishan Jivadipan at the moment, just dipping a tyre a little bit onto the grass, as well, they are pushing the absolute limits of this La Conca circuit, and at the moment the top 2 pushing it even more. 1.4 the difference between Milam and Genelay. It's another 1.4 between Tubal and Genelay at the top of the field, so very much those top few holding the pace of the field.
Yeah, but then look at this pack now, from 4 back to 7, back to 8 even. There's quite a nice little chain where if one mistakes happen, you can see Timo Rupen really catching Edin Kasarevic there. And then just behind, you have Ishan Jeevadeepan and John McKellen really trying to do some nice racing. 5 laps in now, so this race is going very, very quick. We're sort of settled down, so let's see if we can get in some nice moves.
Yeah, we'll see if there's going to be any moves made, and this might be one from Thomas Anthony on the exit of the corner, but can't quite get the run. And Timeo Rupen going to try and get the run on Edin Kasarevic for the top 5. Going to try and find the chance on the man in 5th place at the moment, just holding on to the kart as he flies through the corners and takes all of these curbs. It's very, very hot to the floor at the moment, and well, it's very, very hot action at the moment. Anthony will get the chance to get past Leon Met, and he does so nice and easily, but Met takes too much curbing to try and fight back, and off of the road he goes, and out of the fight for the top 11 he goes as well. Leon Met drops down after an unfortunate mistake, just tried to focus too much on the racing another kart, when in that moment I think he had to look a little bit more at the road and a little bit more at trying to hold the pace that he had to keep in the fight.
Now it's Thomas Anthony's turn to try and catch the fight we're currently on. John McKellen and Ishan Jeevadeepan really trying to keep a clean race now. Slightly too far away from a move from John, but once you get that slipstream through the chicane and down the straight into the hairpin, Lewis Foster good getting out of the way there, but it's allowed John really to catch up here. Probably not the best place to go for a move. He's a little bit of contact as well, as he's actually pushed Ishan Jeevadeepan off the track, because something the stewards will have to look at a little bit later on. Yeah,
Jeevadeepan going at about a 45-degree angle into the barrier there, but he's managed to get the kart in the right position, get the kart with all 4 wheels back on the track, and he'll hope to catch up once again and be able to take the position. He's not lost too much time, has Jeevadeepan, and well, he's holding position at the moment. Isaac Morgan is going to wake himself up into the fight with Thomas Anthony and tries to bully his way alongside, and bully his way ahead. Around the outside he goes, and Anthony's angle is squeezed, so Morgan is going to try and go around the outside once again, but still doesn't quite have the run. And that's the benefit of the inside line into that particular corner, because that means Thomas Anthony is going to be able to hold on to the position. But Morgan looks the quicker of these two at the moment. He's going to try and find his way through at some point very soon.
Just an update on all the gaps. So Warwick Milam and Alex Genelay, 1.2 seconds, the same it has been since the end of lap 1. So they're both setting high lap times. They're really both going for it, waiting for the other to make a mistake. Alex is just slightly too far behind to think about trying anything. But then the gap from 4, 5, 6 and 7 is within a second and a half. So again, some really nice racing there potentially towards the last couple laps.
Yeah, it could be very, very good, and it's absolutely flown by. We are on lap number 8 of 12 at the moment, and it's been a very, very, very action-filled race so far, and it may well not be over. Edin Kasarevic and Timeo Rupen. Rupen tries to look for the outside. That would have been a sensational move for Rupen if he was able to get it done, but he couldn't quite get the overspeed around the outside. Kasarevic placed the kart in the right place so that Rupen couldn't find his way around the outside, and once again, they'll cross over to lap number 9 now, so only a few to go, and these two don't seem to be at the end. And of course, Tubal not too far up the road either. There'll be a 1.3 second gap between them, as that's a poor exit from Kasarevic. Rupen looks to strike, but Kasarevic manages to come back through the double apex and hold on to position.
Now, if I was Timio here, I'd try and back off a little bit, not try and go for a move right now. As he does go for a move, a very, very good move actually. Ignore what I said, that was a great move, and that's allowed Joshua Bailey to get a nice run up here. Joshua Bailey, who's actually trying to do a move on Timio here into the chicane. It's not going to work. Joshua Bailey's put himself off over the curb, and that's given Timio a slight breathing room from Eden in P6.
Yeah, just a little bit of breathing room at the moment for these two drivers, but that does mean that they will continue to be locked in battle, as Milam's managed to build up the gap to over 2 seconds ahead of Alexis Genelay in that second place, and then Tubal 2 seconds off the back of Genelay as well. So it's a big gap for Warwick Milam to hold. It's a big gap for Genelay. Those two very much proving the pace of the field. Warwick Milam proving the pace of everybody in this session. His best race lap is, in fact, I believe that was better than his qualifying lap. So a 46.823 is what he's been able to get in his best lap, and that is absolutely ridiculous. He's been able to keep it into the 47.0s, which would have been enough to qualify. This is in a race session, so it's a little bit of a different scenario, but still very, very impressive. He's been able to open that up. Edin Kasarevic remains on the back of Timeo Rupen. These two have really provided the fireworks so far today, and it doesn't feel as though it's over at all.
Well, Warwick's pulled another half a second on this lap as well. He's really enjoying himself out there. He's led since lap 1, so he's at a point where he's confident enough that he can push 100% and really go for some lap times. He's enjoying himself. He doesn't need to well, it doesn't feel like he needs to reserve himself at all. 2 laps left for Warwick, and it looks like a clear victory at this point.
Yeah, pretty comfortable at the moment. Alexis Genelay in that second place, not going to be quite close enough to make the fight with Warwick Milam at this point in time. Ethan Miller looking for a move on Ishan Jividipan, can't quite find his opportunity through. Jividipan looks as though he might be lagging a little bit at the moment, just ahead of Miller, so it's going to be difficult for him to find his way past, because of course these are all pinpoint precision placements of the kart, and when they are slightly unpredictable, then it can be very, very difficult to make your way through. But yeah, it's going to be very, very good to see the last couple of laps. As the last lap is underway, Milam has almost eked out that 3-second gap over Genelay, and he's very much had the pace.
Just a question, what lap times has Warwick been getting up to the last couple of laps?
Well, the last one was a 47.2, so slightly slower, but he may well be coasting to the end now, as he's been very, very impressive. He's been keeping it in the 47s pretty much the entire time, and around the final few corners he will come, and he will become the first victor in the Euro Series. He's one of the most decorated drivers in the KartSim history, and he's going to go for yet another victory. La Conca was the first action, non-Valencian of this year, but that didn't stop the momentum for Warwick Milam, who takes the victory in round 1 of the Euro Series. Alexis Genelay will finish in second, and Teodor Tubal will round out the podium. Alex Lukshicki will be in fourth, and Rupen and Kaserovic will finish pretty close together in 5th and 6th. Benayrens in 7th. Bailey, McClellan and Anthony, who comes across the line sideways, rounds out the top 10 of this field. Ishan Jividipan as well holds on to that 12th place ahead of Ethan Miller, but Warwick Milam, what a drive from himself, and well, he can be thoroughly pleased with that one, as all the drivers just coming to the end of their race. We had 22 come to the end of this one, and well, it was Warwick Milam who is almost inevitable right at the top.
Well, these drivers now know they got us on board. They can watch the stream back. They can see what he's doing different to all the rest. So I'm sure next race he'll be given a bit more of a run for his money.
I'm sure he will. They're going to try and get closer and closer throughout the course of this season, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some incredible racing. There's your final confirmation, then there's the confirmation of the order. Warwick Milam taking the win ahead of Alexis Genelay in 2nd place. Teodor Tubal in 3rd, and 4th place will be Alex Lukshicki.
Now, I've just heard from Stuart, there's a possible jump start for Warwick Milam that's going to be investigated after the race. So that could throw a big spanner in the works for Warwick. I know it did have about a 3-second gap, but that would put him back into, I believe, a P4, P5 position.
Yeah, which would be a huge shame because of the pace that he showed, but that would be incredible for Alexis Genelay, Tubal, and then Lukshicki, who'd be able to get onto the podium. While we wait for confirmation on that, just to run you through the rest of the order. Tomeo Rupen finished in 5th ahead of Edin Kaserovic in 6th. Brian Benayrens in 7th, and Joshua Bailey will be in 8th, with John McClellan and Thomas Anthony rounding out the top 10. Isaac Morgan just outside. Ishan Jividipan managing to hold on in the end ahead of Ethan Miller. Leon Met in 14th place. Anson Gow in 15th, and then Stanislav Zharko, Harvey Sargison, Benjamin Asimento, Johan Bourdieu and Leonard Klapsing rounding out the top 20, as we had 22 finishers here today. Ruben Swindles and Elia Knoll, everybody on the lead lap, and well, that will be very, very interesting indeed to find out, of course, what is going to happen with that one. But that will be the end of round 1 here at the Euro Series for 2026. The champions of the future esports will be back in 2 weeks' time in Valencia, and we'll be back at the Cartodromo. That has kicked off our seasons in the International Series and the real life one as well. Molson will be round 3 in May, and well, we've got 2 more rounds of the year in the Euro Series, Christiansen and Sarno, Christianstad even and Sarno, but we will be back for, of course, the Euro Series will be the next action, but we've got 3 different championships throughout the course of the year: the Euro Series, the UK Series and the International Series for ourselves to be competing around. So plenty of racing action on our screens from the KartSim champions of the future, races in general. My name's Joseph Black. I've been alongside Josh Erfan, and of course it's Miguel Viana, the broadcast director. Have we got any final words before we round off, Josh?
No, I'm just excited to see what the stewards have to say about a couple of incidents and Warwick Milam's potential jump start. That'll be released on the official results later on. But I think that's been a great, very, very interesting race. Some really good racing, and again, some of the top caliber of drivers that we've seen driving around on KartSim Esports.
Certainly will. A very, very promising start to what should be a great season. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us today.